Welcome back to Continental Club, everybody. No Chris Hamster. I believe he's at a wedding today, so Mikey McCubbin replaces him, and as ever, Patrick Van Straaten is here too. Let's crack on straight away with the questions. The first one was sent in by Occam's Razor. He says, what's your opinion on teams like Sevilla and Dortmund topping their leagues? Is it just a hot streak of form, or can they win it? Expected goals, written all over this one, Pato. That's what he said. You're rock hard. Tell him all about it.
The meme lives on.
I mean, yeah, I think both sides are actually doing pretty well at the moment. Both sides are overperforming a little bit, when you drill into their numbers. But Sevilla have the second best attack in the league after Barcelona. Their defence is a little bit wobbly, but pretty much Pablo Machin, who came in from Girona in the summer, looks to have got them firing pretty quickly. And as we know, there's great talent there. They were good under Sampaoli. Their recruitment's still been excellent. You've got guys like Banega, Sarabia. Obviously, Andre Silva has hit the ground running. I think he's got 7 goals now in 720 minutes.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
Which is remarkable, really. So Sevilla, I think, are probably going to stick around for the rest of the season. Especially if Real Madrid can't get their shit together, which it certainly looks like that won't happen unless they maybe get Conte in.
Yeah, I think Machin was a really interesting appointment by Sevilla. Obviously, he's played a 3 at the back for the entire campaign so far this season, and he's had that horrendous injury to Gonalons as well that he signed in the summer, broke his leg straight away. So he's had to kind of adapt a little bit, but he's doing unbelievably well. Like you said, they are overperforming expected goals a little bit in terms of each player. I think Wassim Ben Yedder is actually currently 1.09 expected goals per 90. I think he's actually got, I've got it down here, 5 goals in 345 minutes.
Holy shit.
He's absolutely
pretty
flying.
amazing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you look at it and you're like, expected goals says they should have conceded about 11. They've conceded 8. It says they should have scored 16. They've scored 18. So that's quite a significant swing over
They had
short
such
period.
a tough summer as well. It's like they lost Longley, they lost Nzonzi. They've replaced them pretty well, man. And I'm surprised at how well they're doing this summer. I was expecting it to be a bit of a season of flux for Sevilla.
Yeah, and I guess Andre Silva was also a bit of a gamble as well, wasn't it? Considering how badly he did at AC. But yeah, I think they are still second in La Liga in terms of like expected points and stuff.
Yeah,
but like
to Real Madrid though.
Yeah, to Real Madrid. Yeah, and Barcelona are below them. So yeah, I was just gonna like ask because I'm not really like that big on this kind of side of statistics. After only 8 games in a season, how much can expected goals and expected points really be kind of benchmark for what happens in the rest of the season, because it's quite a small number of games, isn't it? Like Atleti are quite far down at the moment. They're really underscoring, but they're managing to get results and whatnot. I don't know. I still feel like they will probably still finish in the top 3.
I think before you get into sort of 10 games, generally speaking, I'd have a healthy degree of scepticism. For whatever statistics are telling you, because of course strength of schedule plays a massive part. You can have really easy games. So far this season, for instance, Bournemouth look better by the numbers than Man United and Arsenal. However, Bournemouth have had an incredibly easy schedule. They've been able to run up the score in games where they went up a man against Watford, for instance. They've had a ton of penalties. So those sorts of things, you have to take those into account. Whereas after 10, 15, 20 games, that kind of balances out.
For sure.
Yeah, I'd say that generally you can be sceptical, but when there's a big enough swing, you can kind of say, well, we wouldn't expect things to continue at this rate. So, for instance, Arsenal so far in the Premier League, really overperforming on the attacking end, really overperforming on the defensive end, and you can kind of say, okay, the difference between what their performances have looked like and what their position in the table looks like means that we can at least expect that to come down to earth a bit. You don't want to make huge sweeping claims and say, well, look, they're going to finish 10th because they're the 10th best team according to expected goals. But you can say, you know what? It's not like they're just banging them in from 40 yards and that's going to stop. So Sevilla, it's not like they're just scoring improbable goals. They're creating really good chances, and you'd expect that will continue over the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Sevilla against Real Madrid deployed a midfield of Banega, Vazquez and Sarabia, which is so attacking.
That's really attacking.
Like, no wonder they're creating so many chances per game. They're just going out to blow teams away effectively. And there are obviously some holes in sort of the expected goals model, because the other team that was mentioned, I can't remember the commenter's name, But Borussia Dortmund, Lucien Favre is the king of overperforming expected goals.
Yeah, he's
Every
amazing at it.
team he goes to overperform expected goals.
Yeah.
I think he might well have found the hole in the expected goal formula.
Well, the thing is, expected goals at the moment, we don't have player tracking data, so we don't know where defenders are exactly.
Yeah.
We can get through balls and stuff, and that often, and counter attacks, that's normally factored into expected goals, and that gives you an idea.
Yeah.
Or when somebody goes around the keeper, but Burnley, for instance, tend to overperform on the defensive end because they have so many defenders between the player taking the shot and the goal.
Yeah.
So you can look at block numbers, for instance, if a team's overperforming expected goals, and Favre tends to do a similar thing, get everybody to drop back, and it means that it's extremely hard to get a clean shot through traffic. So yeah, you do tend to see it. On the other hand, I think that Dortmund right now are running supernova hot. I mean,
do you not think they like? It feels like every team that Favre takes over, there is an immediate hot streak they go on.
Usually season one at least, they bang.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know whether that's down to the fact that he's clearly a very good man manager, motivator as well, because he did it at Gladbach, didn't he? He did it with Balotelli at Nice. So he's clearly an expert at getting the best out of not mediocre players, but players that tend to have a bit of a hot streak in their personality, and that's what he's doing at Dortmund. He's also definitely changed the Dortmund style from a clear counter-attacking presence under the likes of Klopp and Tuchel to a possession-based, building from the back team this season.
They're very slow.
Very slow.
They're very slow until they get to the final third. But the thing is, you've got to expect people like Sancho and particularly Paco to come back down to earth. Everything he hits is going in at the moment. That will not last forever.
Yeah.
But Brun Larsen looks like an excellent player. He's got really good numbers. Sancho's underlying numbers are not as good as currently his assist numbers would suggest, but he still looks like an excellent player.
Yeah.
So there's space for everybody for their performance to drop a little bit and for Dortmund to still be exceptionally good. And right now, you'd expect Bayern to kind of come back and win the league. I think we'd all still probably bet that Bayern would win the league, but Dortmund look very clearly one of the two best sides.
Yeah, I read a really interesting interview with Favre before this where he said he basically doesn't coach positional play into his forwards. He effectively lets them do what they want to do and try and solve problems by themselves, which I think is probably why you're seeing players like Paco Alcacer flying around the pitch and scoring a goal every 10 minutes. It just seemed, that freedom just seems to suit him. And I think at Barcelona, it's almost the polar opposite. It's a very clear tactical structure. He's got to do very clear things as a forward. And maybe he's better with no limitations, Paco, because he started the season brilliantly. And there's other players in that team that I look at. I think Axel Witsel started 7 of the 8 games for Borussia Dortmund.
He's actually been great.
He's clearly one of the fulcrums of that Favre side, driving through the midfield. And it is something that I would not have associated with a Borussia Dortmund side of the past. That freedom of the front line. Marco Reus is flying. Now, obviously, Marco Reus worked with Favre, didn't he, at Gladbach? I think he actually gave him his start. So I imagine there's some sort of deep relationship there where he is going to do bits under Favre because he's always done bits under Favre.
That would be great to see.
But I don't know how long it's going to last. I kind of feel like that bubble's going to burst at Favre and Dortmund eventually, as it has at every club he's been at.
Yeah, because that's the thing. He had a few seasons of overperformance with Gladbach, and then he started that season with like 5 consecutive losses or something, and then he got sacked. But I mean, the real question is, do any of us think that either Sevilla or Dortmund are going to win their respective league?
No.
And I don't think any of us do, really.
I mean,
Dortmund have got a better shot than Sevilla, probably.
Do you think? I think there's going to be some serious problems at Bayern this season. I just think that the Kovac experiment, I'm not sure it's going anywhere near as they planned, and I don't know whether he's going to last a full campaign.
And we've been saying for 2 or 3 seasons, wow, that squad's really getting old.
Like, and it's not been
their
reformed.
key players are getting old. They're getting old.
Tolisso slapped his ACL.
Yeah, and Tolisso does his ACL, and 2 or 3 players hit the wall at just the wrong time. You know, Boateng, Lewandowski, and the wingers are just done at the same time. If that happens, if that's what's going on now, rather than just like a momentary blip, then they are like big time.
They're in the world of trouble.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens, and I think it'd be great if Dortmund won the league, but it might mean that they got... I don't know. There's a part of me that kind of hopes that Favre like gives them one season, maybe does badly the next season, and they bring in Jardim, who seems like a much better fit for them than Favre for me.
Oh,
I
but
don't
yeah.
know. That's just personal preference.
Mikey, what do you think? Can Sevilla sustain it? Dortmund sustain it?
Nah, I'm a realist.
You're a realist.
Yeah, I can't see it happening. I think Dortmund probably have a slightly better chance. I think Sevilla are probably doing a little bit better at the moment, but at the same time, I think that's probably down to the fact that La Liga is just everyone's kind of underperforming a little bit, aren't they? And at least one of Barca or Real or Atleti will come good at some point. It's so unlikely that.
Yeah, I agree, because in Bayern, in Germany, Bayern are the only real competition here. If they don't...
Well, Leipzig look good at the moment, though.
But if Bayern don't perform, you feel like Dortmund can actually win it, whereas Sevilla have to have Barcelona, Real Madrid and Atletico all underperforming for an entire campaign, really, to win the...
Yeah.
Which is not going to be easy to do.
Yeah, it's an incredible gamble. But at least it's fun. I don't think anyone expected it was going to be as fun as this.
Finally.
Italy was much more competitive last season. Now Italy's a walkover. And the other leagues have unexpectedly become fascinating. So...
Yeah, let us know your thoughts, though. Can Sevilla and Dortmund maintain their title charge? Let us know in the comments below. The next question was sent in by Gunnosaurus is Life. Probably the best handle I've seen of the day. He says, what do you think about the reports linking Wenger with Madrid, or do you see him moving elsewhere / taking up a non-managerial position? Now, obviously, this comes off the back, doesn't it, of Wenger saying he's going to be back in management on the 1st of January 2019.
Did he say management specifically?
No, he back in work.
Back in work.
Yeah. So it could be a little bit loose.
Is it going to be Madrid? Someone answer the question.
Well, I think that the bookies are tipping him for Madrid. But obviously, this is that's just kind of a bit of fun, really. I mean, I think he'd probably be a pretty good, a relatively good option for Madrid. But obviously, if Lopetegui is the kind of dead man walking that we think he is, then he's probably going to get let go within the next month rather than in January. I don't know whether they'd keep him on for that long, especially if he up badly in El Clasico, or he has another 3 bad results. So I don't know. I think it's bad timing, and obviously Madrid are supposedly looking at Conte, aren't they? Apparently they've made contact with Conte. So,
wow.
So it's all...
Conte would be a madness.
I mean, they'd be really good, man. With Conte, they'd be really good. It would actually be the first time in a while they'd had a truly elite defence, because they haven't really had that for ages. The thing is, Wenger would actually not be that bad at Madrid, because what Wenger does is create a system which essentially requires his defenders to be superhuman. There was one stage when Arsenal's defence was good, and the reason for it was that Laurent Koscielny was absolutely on one for 2 years. Yeah. He was just amazing, and Cazorla as well, and they pretty much made everything work. Real Madrid is maybe the only club in the world that you can go to and just be like, you know what, we're going to be really open at the back, we're going to be a nightmare in defensive midfield, but the personnel are just so good that it doesn't really matter. However, it makes no sense to me to go for Wenger if you can get Conte. Conte is an elite manager. Wenger is a sort of nice man. So I think, I can't really see that one happening. To me, the fact that he's specified this date sounds like he's got something lined up. And if he's got something lined up, then I assume it wouldn't be a managerial job. I assume it might be like a technical director job or something. I think he's going to be a manager. It's going to be a manager. I mean, if it's a national team, I would love that. There was talk that he'd take charge of... There were 3 national teams he's been linked to. Japan, France and England. And I would...
Feels like such lazy journalism.
But would you not...
managed in Japan.
Would you not love him to manage England? I think that would be
I wanted him to be Hodgson's successor.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be alright, I think.
The attack would be lethal. The attack would be so fun.
I think he's going to end up going to Bayern Munich.
God, really?
Yeah, man. I just think that Kovac...
What, as a caretaker?
No, I don't know, man. Kovac, his lifespan is so limited at Bayern Munich.
God.
Kovac isn't going to be there at the end of the season.
They actually do look bad. That's the thing with Bayern. Bayern and Real are weird because they actually look straight up bad. And Barcelona have looked pretty bad this season as well. It's remarkable. It's not like, they're just not getting the bounce of the ball. Bayern they still look like the best side in the Bundesliga by the numbers, but they're mortal this season.
Yeah. I could see Wenger in the Bayern Munich dugout, just as that old head coming in and working with Rummenigge.
Oh my God.
On a real sporting level as well. Just sporting excellence across the club, because they've kind of built themselves on being this sort of classy outfit, haven't they? and I kind of feel Wenger is like the perfect fit for that sort of vision that they've got of, we are very well spoken, very classy. We don't do too much off the field. We're very polite.
That kind of Bavarian conservatism.
But they're not. They're kind of like they call people out all the time. Bayern. Like I'd say that the hierarchy of Bayern are the biggest in football. They're like Xavi used to be at Barcelona, where whenever a player would play well, he'd be like, well, it's a matter of time till he comes to Barcelona. Off Xavi. They're exactly the same. Like Hoeneß, Rummenigge, like Beckenbauer. You'd have thought that all these guys, given that most of them have gone to prison at some stage, would know when to shut their mouths, but they don't. And it's incredibly tedious.
That's someone here. Absolutely
they just wind me up. To me, a possibility here would be, didn't Monaco let Emanalo go when they got rid of Jardine?
They did let Emanalo go,
So,
or they left on mutual terms.
Monaco, director of football, working with Thierry Henry. Tell me you can't see that.
That'd be pretty cool.
God.
That'd be really cool.
Does that not make sense?
That's a fantastic show.
Like that feels like a very Wenger-y thing. And then,
Wenger really want to step?
can you imagine how much Henry would hate having the Wenger buy players for him? That would be f***ing annoying.
Yeah, but do you not think that every word that's come out of Wenger's mouth in the build-up to this anyway has kind of leaned towards the fact that I'm not done in management?
Yeah, it does feel that way.
He also said that
straight into director of football would be a big.
He mentioned Japan as well. He said something like there's associations, national teams, and then maybe in Japan. So I don't, like he's been very ambiguous about like where he could go. Apparently he's been offered like something like 7.5 million over 2 years by
China.
Guangzhou Evergrande. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
no!
China.
Please don't go to China. Please don't go to China.
I feel like that's less than what he was earning per year at Arsenal anyway.
It's
It's not that much.
I mean, your legacy's already fairly dented. This just drives a saw straight through it.
He should do something like try and become like technical director of like the French national setup or something, and maybe manage it after Deschamps. Like that would be a good thing for him.
Can you imagine if he actually got appointed as sporting director of United?
That'd be crazy.
I mean, that would be amazing.
But where do you guys at home think that Arsene Wenger is going to end up? Let's go Japan, Monaco,
Man
Real
United.
Madrid. No, not Man United. Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. Vote in the poll up there, those 4 options. Moving on now then to quick fire questions. The first one was sent in by Trissy. He says, which of the top flight Premier League teams do you think Ramsey would fit in most when he leaves Arsenal? Van Straten, you're a gooner. Where? When?
God. I don't know if you can get into Chelsea's midfield 3. I certainly don't think Ramsey could, but I think he'd be good at being that attacking midfielder.
Better than Kovacic?
Not at ball progression, but at goal scoring probably. I don't know really. If I were any of the top clubs, I probably wouldn't get him, except for Spurs, who desperately need a central midfielder and have no money. So I guess so I don't know if he'd fit any of them really. Like the problem with Ramsey is he's just not. He'd have fitted a Mourinho side like 5 years ago, but Mourinho's not going to be there, we assume. You know, like playing. You can imagine him playing as a 10 in a Mourinho system because Mourinho always liked a guy who was essentially a central midfielder. Playing in that 10 role, so it gave him a defensive presence in the forward line and an attacking presence in the midfield. So that would make sense to me, but other than that, I don't know, it just feels like he'll go to Italy or something, you know.
I actually can't disagree more. I actually really don't think he's got it in him to go abroad. I think he's going to end up at Liverpool.
Oh, God, really?
I really think he's going to end up at Liverpool.
Can
They
Liverpool
were clearly after another attacking midfielder. They went for Fekir twice.
God, but can they
true.
afford another injury-prone midfielder?
Yes.
Like, they've got so many injury-prone guys now.
Of course they can. I think they're going to go for another attacking midfielder and Ramsey will end up at Liverpool.
You know what? If I were Liverpool, I would look at the way they've recruited at that club and I would say, you know what, I trust our recruitment team to bring in somebody who might be lower profile but a better player than Ramsey.
He could also end up at Man United. Let's not shy away from the fact that he
does feel a bit United.
He does feel quite United. Let's go to the next one then. Considering the Netherlands' 3-0 win against Germany, are we seeing the revolution of the Dutch national team with the addition of new talent and the gained experience and improved quality of players such as Depay? That's a long question and it comes from Ashley Folds.
You're actually a bit of a Dutch football expert, I think, relative to most people on FD.
Relative, I suppose, because nobody ever watches it. I don't know, man. In terms of a Dutch football revolution, I would disagree, especially when you stack it up against previous Dutch revolutions that we've seen that have inspired world football. They're definitely better than they were, but it's not hard to be better than you were when you're starting from a baseline of utter
Yes.
and of course, players like Memphis Depay, and you see the likes of Frankie de Jong coming through, and the resurgence of Ajax's youth structure helping the team. My problem is that the coaching isn't fantastic. I don't think. I think it's getting the job done. I think there's some fantastic young players in the squad, but for me, still sort of second, third grade international level talent.
But isn't that what kind of the Dutch national side have kind of been like for a while? Obviously, you obviously had like Robben and Van Persie, who kind of were fantastic at the last World Cup, the World Cup before. But still, kind of Van Gaal seemed to just kind of luck it in that tournament. And
yeah, I mean,
it's been a while. Probably, I mean, 2010 clearly they were pretty good, but even then, like it's been a long time since we've seen the Dutch national side which has actually excited people. Like not in over 10 years.
They were pretty good at 2010, but it was almost seen as sort of a national disgrace. The 2010
the final
World Cup, the fact that they got to the final playing that standard of football, that brand of football, and almost paradoxically. Good word.
Nice.
If I'm using it in the right context. Spain got to the final playing the brand of football that was seen in the glory days of Cruyff. Cruyff transitioned into Spain. That was a polar opposite to the brand of football the Dutch were playing. So they saw it as a real affront to what their whole footballing culture is about.
Yeah.
I think that the squad at the moment's fine, does a job, but there's something deeper ingrained in the Netherlands national team in terms of a style of football and a stylistic choice by the management that's still not there. They've got some good individual young talent, but in terms of that fluid 4-3-3 structure implemented by Cruyff.
But is that also because, like, I feel like we've covered it on this show before, like the decline in Dutch coaching in general, like
in terms of the Dutch National League. For sure.
Yeah, the coaching's generally deteriorated, but I actually think that Koeman is the best manager they've had of the national team since Van Gaal. I think Koeman's not brilliant, but he's organised. He has a plan, which is better than you could say about Danny Blind, and it's better than you could say about kind of their attempts to go back to the past and get people like Advocaat and Hiddink. And I think that he's an organised coach, and he's got them kind of defensively solid. And actually, when I compare their personnel to the personnel they had in the 2010 World Cup, there are only maybe 3 positions where I think they were better than. They had a peak Wesley Sneijder, they had Robben, they had Van Persie. Yeah. But other than that, it's hard to think what was so great about their team. They were playing like Heitinga and Matthijssen, in defence. They were playing Van de Veel on the right. Like the defensive personnel were not great. Whereas when you think about a centre-back pairing of De Ligt and Van Dijk, that's really exciting. When you think about a midfield that has Frenkie de Jong, Ramselaar, Van de Beek, that's pretty exciting as well. And when you think about wingers, where you've got Depay on one side and you've got Bergwijn on the other, then you've actually got the core of a pretty decent side.
100%. I still think they are missing that elite level centre forward.
Yeah.
That's a clear hole for them. But it's always going to come back to the problem of, on the international stage and from viewing perspective, in the Netherlands, they are not going to be happy unless they are playing extremely fluid football, attractive, Barcelona-esque, Pep Guardiola level football. They could be winning trophies playing ugly football and still not be happy.
To an extent.
I think they were quite happy with their performance at the 2014 World Cup, and but maybe that's the problem. Maybe they just need to accept what they are, and make their peace with that, and then over time they might
comparing yourselves to the greats.
Yeah, and over time they might find that actually they can get back there just because of this one generation of great talent. We will see. Yeah. But at the moment, at least they look like they'll probably qualify for the next major tournament, and that is a massive improvement.
Yeah, it's a massive improvement. So congratulations to Ronald Koeman, because we've widely panned you before on this show, and a number of others. Finally, what's your favourite type of player? i.e. CMs who specialise at ball progression, attacking fullbacks, or tricky wingers, etc. That comes from Clout Demon. Mikey, favourite type of footballer?
I think probably just like a number 10, super creative. I don't know, or just anyone who kind of links the attacking midfield. Someone like Ronaldinho, I don't know, just someone who's like super fun to watch. Anyone who just like is great to watch. Like, say the same about Pogba as well.
Okay, I'm the exact opposite. I like players who are absolutely awful to watch, abysmal. I'm talking like one of my favourite players to watch was Rory Delap.
What are you talking
Genuinely, horrendous footballer.
You can't be serious.
I'm being serious. Rory Delap, because I just used to love his long throws. They were just unreal.
I mean, it's unorthodox, to be fair.
It was so anything unorthodox. Like I like watching Lee Cattermole because of how he wears his shorts and socks combination.
What, like he's playing in the 40s?
Don't know what's going on there. Don't know what he's thinking. I actually don't care to watch really intricate players. I would rather watch Ryan Shawcross melting someone's shins.
You should come down to some non-league games, Joe. You'd love it. It's right up your street.
I probably would. I mean, my favourite type of player is like an aggressive defensive midfielder.
Yeah, I've got to say, actually, my favourite is a box-to-box midfielder who, like, crunches into... What I love is a player crunching into a challenge, getting up and, like, just bursting through midfield. Like that. Like, I loved Vieira when he used to do that. I actually loved Roy Keane. I thought he was sensational. I love Arturo Vidal. He's one of my favourite players in the world. This is the reason I liked Yaya Toure at City. It's why I like Naby Keita, because they're just guys who can do a bit of everything. They can do the passing and stuff, but really what they do is they're dynamic. They just can win the ball back and smash through defensive lines. And that's fun to watch.
Nothing I hate to say more, but I used to love watching Steven Gerrard smash into a tackle, carry the ball 30 yards, and then ping one top left. It was like, God's sake.
Dynamism, ball carrying is the exciting thing to watch. Like, I think about Di Maria in the season that Real won La Decima, and I remember that season he would just, like, if they were in trouble, they would give the ball to Di Maria and he would just blow a hole in a defence, like, just through, like, taking it round a bunch of people and you remember that, him sitting Puyol down, things like that, like all that kind of stuff. I think of as just that's like the real meat and potatoes of football. Just like one attacker versus one defender. Like that's what you want to watch, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the quickfire questions. Let's move on now to the big match preview. This week it's Inter Milan versus AC Milan, the big Milan derby at the San Siro. We'll keep this very short this week because we've already rambled on for quite a long time. Lads, what are your thoughts on this one, Pato? Inter, want to walk it over?
I think Inter are the better side. I think they've got a better coach. I think they've got a better squad. Icardi looks like he's come back into goal-scoring form. At the beginning of the season, he was notching assists but not goals, and now I think he's got 5 goals in his last 4 appearances. Yeah. So, I mean, finally he's getting the service he needs. And I don't know, I think they still need some additions in the attacking positions. And Keita Balde-Diao has not been sensational since joining, but their midfield is so deep. It's really unbelievable. I mean, Brozovic, I've gone on and on and on about how much I love Brozovic. Brozovic looks outrageous this season. Yeah. He's winning the ball back like 5 times a game. He's also creating 1.5 chances a match. Like, he can do a bit of everything. He's just a really Croatian midfielder. So I think there are lots of... Rather than it being a game I particularly want to watch, I'd say it's a game that has a lot of players I want to watch in it.
Yeah, I mean, Nainggolan has been super attacking this season. And he's kind of not yet hit the ground in terms of goals and assist numbers. I think he's got 1 assist, something like that. But I can see Nainggolan tearing through AC Milan in this game. I think AC Milan just still so mediocre. This is like I know that Inter Milan have improved. They're still 8 points off Juve. Let's have it right. And this is just a tale of 2 insignificant teams at the moment.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of tipped Inter to do better before the start of the season, but I think it was just a case of maybe just too many new signings, or it's just taken them a little while to gel. Obviously, like they brought in Vashalko, and he's, I think, only just come back from injury. I think he missed like 5 games already. Obviously, we talked about Keita Balde before. It just feels like they're still being carried somewhat by Icardi, like you were saying, because they've come into form recently, but that's only when Icardi's been scoring. Before, when he wasn't really hitting the goals, they just weren't winning games.
Well, he's their only real goal scoring threat, isn't he?
At the moment, like, I mean, Perisic's got a couple. Yeah, he's always all right, but he's starting to slow down now. I think. But then again, you can make a similar point about Milan, which is that Suso is the one guy who makes stuff happen for them. Yeah. I think he's got something like 2 goals, 6 assists, or something like that so far this season. It's crazy. Yeah, well, he's scoring everything that Suso creates. But I mean, Suso genuinely looks like a superstar this season. He's still only 24. Like, I remember when he was at Liverpool and they sold him on for a pittance. And now he is starting to look like he can run their attack, which is kind of hilarious given that they spent so much on Çalhanoğlu. You know, they hoped that Kessie would be a goal-scoring midfielder, and I still think Kessie's got some... I don't know. Milan is just like a graveyard of signings that were badly thought through. You know, like when they went and they bought in Conti at right back and then immediately kind of dropped him, and they go and get a striker like Kalinic, and then found that they would rather play Catrone or whatever. They're just Bakayoko. What's happening with Bakayoko?
Well,
is he going back to Chelsea?
Bakayoko, they are going to cancel the loan off. Yeah, he's been training with the under-21s because he's just so bad in training.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, what a fall from grace that is.
But apparently Gattuso's just been appalled by how he trains. So he has been training with the under-21s, and I think he is going to have his loan cut short and sent back to Chelsea, which is a really damning indictment of his ability in training, I guess, because he's not got any starts.
Yeah, Gattuso. It felt like Gattuso was kind of low-key calling him stupid. Yeah. Where he said, "Oh, he's been here a couple of months and we still can't get him to understand the movements we want him to make." And he said, "Evidently, that's my fault." And I was kind of like, "You don't think that, though, do you?"
It's not. I'm not saying it is, but it's got a bit of a Yaya Sanogo vibe when he went to Ajax.
Oh, come on.
Come on, man.
Sanogo was genuinely bad, though, whereas Bakayoko was great in that season with Monaco. And it's not like he hasn't got ability.
40 million Chelsea paid for him, and he's training with the AC Milan reserves.
He was 23 at the time, and also we've seen this happen with players before when, like, you know, United binned off Januzaj to Sunderland, and he looks great now. Or United saying, "Well, Depay's shit, let's get rid of him for a pittance." Like,
but at least he wasn't training with our reserves after.
I feel like Depay did.
Do you think that's like a Gattuso thing though? Because I do get the impression that like Gattuso is clearly like a proper maverick, like, and I don't think he's really a Champions League level manager. Like, is he? Like, this is surely like a part of the issue as well. Like, why have AC Milan like continued with Gattuso? Surely they could get a better manager in.
I don't know, man. They've cycled through some names over the last
They'll get Mourinho
5
in.
seasons.
Get Mourinho in once he's gone.
Absolutely no chance he's going to AC after the Inter-loving that happened.
I don't know. He is a.
Right, let's get a quick prediction on this one then.
Well, both sides are at home. So
no advantage there. I think it's going to be 2-0 Inter, just on current form. AC actually won their last 3, but Inter just have a better team back to front, don't they? Just about.
Yeah.
2-1 Inter.
I'll go 1-0 Inter Milan. Pretty tight affair, I think. They're usually pretty cagey, Milan derby.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So anyway, let us know your predictions in the comments below. That is the end of Continental Club for another week. If you've got any questions, please do submit them in the comments below with the hashtag Continental Club. Lads, what else is happening on Football Daily?
Star Wars the League is what's going on. That's happening twice a week at the moment. We are. It's me and Pat actually tomorrow. So that was actually a pretty good game. Very very gentlemanly. Nothing like Joe and Doogie's one. So go and watch that. That's
now been overturned. So joke.
Eh? Wow. Yeah, it has been overturned, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, deservedly.
Was it?
Well, yeah, on appeal.
Everybody's calling for a 1-game touchline ban for me getting in his head in round 1 as well.
You're allowed to get in someone's head. Like, that's fine.
You overstepped it a little bit though.
Wow.
Wow, get out, Mike.
Well, we've got the football social as well this weekend,
Oh,
though,
yeah,
haven't we? We've got the football social where we've got Man City versus Burnley, we've got West Ham versus Spurs, I think that's one of them, and also the big game, Newcastle-Brighton. So tune in for that. I'm going to be on that along with Jack Mate. There you go.
Yeah.
Superstar.
Anyway, see you later. Goodbye.